everyone, and welcome to the final week of the regular season review, Week 15, playoffs, Round 1 preview. I am your commissioner, a.k.a. Mr. Modest, a.k.a. Buzzsaw, coming back for the playoffs, a.k.a. your reigning champ. Here's the trophy. Wow, we give it kisses, Joel Gibson. You want to know why? Because it's always in our possession for some reason. I don't understand. Joel, how you feeling today?
Dude, I'm feeling pretty good. I got a little buzz going on, and I'm ready for these motherfucking playoffs. Playoffs are the best time of year. Everyone's got everything on the table, and man, I can't fucking wait.
I'm so excited too. We'll get into it a little bit as we look into the preview, but this year's going to be so different. Every team in the league has something to play for in these first 2 weeks. Every team. That wire is going to be hot. It is going to be interesting. We're going to have teams that are looking to win, looking to lose, not paying attention anymore. I don't know. Eric Madeley. Yeah, it is insane. And as we get into this, there were some interesting things this week. The first matchup we'll go over, as always, is the champs matchup. I beat Adam. We both didn't set, we set our lineups, but we didn't add anybody. Nothing crazy happened. We both had some injuries, but the important thing, Joel Gibson, is I obtained my fourth consecutive 10-win season. Yes, 4 years in a row at 10 wins. Since my tank year, I have had 10 wins in every season. Mark it down. I am on fire. Look out in the playoffs. Adam moves to 11-4. I moved to 10-5. Adam gets the 2 seed. I wind up with the 4 seed. I don't know if anybody knows this, but 4 is my favorite number. So I will take that, and I'm going to run with it.
Well, it was a matchup that, if I recall, I believe the seeding was already determined. So, but very close in records. I'll be curious to see how you both do in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And you know what? While you were saying the seed was set in stone, let's just get this one out of the way. Last week, I set a trap for Phil. I set a trap. I went hard in the paint. I tried to get him to troll the troll. I thought that maybe he was going to do it. I will give him credit. He baited me all week, and he didn't play anybody up until Sunday, right up until the last game. Then he plays a player. I told you multiple times he was going to do exactly that. I did not fall for your trick, Phil, you dirty bastard. Phil beats Doug in 12 to 0, or 12 and a half, I think, to 0, or something ridiculous like that. I think it would have been 12 and a half to like a half, because he plays Triple J at the end. Phil locks up the 3 seed. He would have been an idiot to lose this game. So credit to him for not falling into the trap. But I like that he played into it a little bit as well. I will give him credit. But you didn't fool anybody, you dirty bastard. Doug actually winds up getting in the playoffs. He's going to be the 8 seed. Either way, it doesn't matter because CJ ended up beating Steven. That's going to be our next matchup. But Doug still gets into the playoffs despite tanking there towards the end. Quite a bummer for Doug, but a hell of an opportunity to upset Neiman.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, Doug is going to be the 8th seed. It didn't seem like that's what he was hoping for, but hopefully he gives it his best shot against Neiman in the playoffs. As for the Phil side of it, you said he'd be an idiot to lose this matchup. I don't know if that's exactly the case. He definitely adjusted his standings in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now have a harder opponent and if he had let that matchup go.
Excellent. I was going to get into that during the preview, but I will give you that. It's definitely going to be an interesting decision. And at the end of that, once we play each other, I'll be interested to see Phil versus Matt if he made the right choice. We'll get more into that in the preview. CJ, like I said, beat Steven. The only way that Doug could have been kicked out, he had the lowest point total of Steven, CJ, Eric, and Kyle. Doug was 5th on that list. Had Steven pulled the upset, and it was very close, Doug wouldn't have made it into the playoffs. He was that close. Bummer for Steven. But he is the number 9 team. He has a solid team. He put up a solid line this week. And he also was like 4th on the list in total points. That team can score. He's well under the cap. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull off that number 1 pick for next year. If he does, I think that Steven is a force to be reckoned with. And not only that, he's still young. He's got a little bit to figure out at the bottom, but we've been saying that all season. He now has a full off season to plan. And I know Steven will do that. I know when he sets his mind to something, it'll be very interesting. But CJ, despite the collapse there towards the end because of the injuries, I'm not saying he did anything wrong. He still gets into the playoffs as the 7 seed. I don't know if KD is going to play before the All-Star break. It's really interesting. I don't think they've ruled him out, but I also don't know why on earth they would risk him before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, he's at a point in his career where it just doesn't seem like it'd be worth, rushing him back.
Right. CJ finishes at 7-9. Steven finishes at 5-10. Wait till you hear about how this consolation bracket set up, Joel Gibson. 5-10 is very interesting. Next matchup, we've got Matt at Joel. Joel Gibson taking care of business, beating Matt. Doesn't get the actual tiebreaker, though. They both tied this year. They each won 1. They had the same divisional record, but Matt had more points than Joel Gibson by like 300, I think.
Yeah, it was nice just taking it to Matt. I know he had some injuries this week, but I'd like to point out that I also had 2 top 20 players not playing this week, and including the game or 2 that Kawhi sat. So, you can shove it, Matt. I'm glad that I could just whoop your ass and show you that Fantrax is not, in fact, your home court.
Excellent. That was well done. That was very well done. Next matchup, we have Eric at Kyle. Eric has won 3 games in a row, Joel Gibson. 3 games in a row. He finishes the season strong. He ends the season at 5-10. He knocks Kyle to 5-10. And I don't know if you know this, but Steven was also 5-10. A 3-way tie for 9 through 11. We'll get into that when we get into the consolation bracket. But Eric literally could not have... I don't know what his plan was, but credit to him for winning 3 straight, I guess.
Yeah, for reasons unknown, Eric decided to turn it on way late in the game. It's like if the game was 100 points out of hand, and then you just threw starters back in to, get their points.
Mathematically, he was 1 game out of the playoffs, because he would have tied with Doug, and he had more points than Doug. Mathematically, he was 1 game out of the playoffs. All those weeks, he didn't set the matchup, he didn't set the lineups. He picked LeBron at 11 and was stoked about it. All that decision-making, he could have still made the playoffs this year. It was very doable.
Yeah, it's a good thing that he decided to, build young around LeBron for Dynasty.
Although I gotta say, I love Goose. I love.
Anthony Edwards is awesome.
He really is. I do like him a lot. So yeah, good luck next year, Eric. I don't. Man, maybe LeBron will just win him that number 1 pick, and he can still continue to build young around LeBron. Holy damn. Only 10 minutes in, and I'm already slipping the tongue. This is going to be an issue, Joel Gibson.
We're gonna ride this out. It's gonna be just fine, Ghost Rider.
Excellent. Last matchup is by far the upset of the year. I will have ballots for everybody this year. Cody beats Neiman. There's no debate. I'm almost certain that I'm not even going to count anybody's vote that is not this vote. I know Neiman didn't have anything to play for. They just set their lineups, whatever. But anytime the last place team beats the first place team, that is an upset of the year.
Yeah, I have a take.
Okay?
Cody making a statement that he is coming for that consolation bracket. This man has not been able to put together a winning streak all year. He has avoided the hell out of it. Now he is going for his first winning streak of the season.
I agree. And I also think, I looked at it and it might be different now that it's changed, but I think he was like second this week in rebounds. Like he was putting up a line this week. And he's also the 12 seed. Like, Cody's going to be tough to beat in that consolation bracket. He's already guaranteed himself a number 2 pick. He can only go up one more slot.
Yeah.
That being said, we'll do the consolation bracket first before we get into the main event, if you will. Now, I want everybody to understand my thinking when it comes to the consolation bracket. So, by being last place, the 12 seed and the 11 seed, those two teams will get a home matchup in the consolation bracket. They will get the most as far as an advantage goes going into the consolation bracket where you battle for first place. Another important thing to understand is you would normally think that the 12 would face the 9 if we were doing regular setups. But that's not the case because it's kind of reversed here. So the 12 will actually play the 10. The 11 will actually play the 9. And like I said, the reason for that is to give the 12 the absolute most or the biggest advantage that they can have. The 11 will have the second largest advantage, and so on. It also kind of avoids the 9 or the 10 being a top or at least a competing team and then going down into the consolation bracket to get the number 1 pick. If they choose to do that, Joel or Doug tried to do it this year. Not saying that that is bad. I'm only saying we're not going to give them the added advantage of them being the home team, but also being the top 8 team. That doesn't make any sense. So I've done my best to try to leverage it as much as possible. So the 12 and the 11 have the biggest advantages going in. Now, the 10 or the 9 could easily go in and trounce both of them. They'll move on to play each other. They could both be vying for a number 1 pick. I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying I'm trying to do what I can to make it as even, but also as leverage for the bottom so teams. So they don't, they don't just throw out the consolation round, if you will. I hope that makes sense. I talked about it a little bit with Joel beforehand, but I've done a lot of thinking on it, and I think this is the right way to do that. With that in mind, we'll go into the first consolation round, and that is going to be Eric at Cody. Eric, I think your losing streak stops here. Eric is the 10 seed. Cody is the 12 seed. And so obviously Steven at Kyle is our next matchup. The 9 at the 11. Now, the reason why we haven't made our picks yet is I wanted to talk about the tiebreakers for the 3 teams that finished 5 and 10. Steven beat Kyle twice. Steven and Eric tied. Kyle and Eric tied. They all had the same divisional record, 5 and 5. So it came down to points. Points for these 3 are as follows: Steven, Eric, Kyle. So, because of that, Kyle gets the lowest seed, the 11. Steven gets the highest seed, the 9. And then Eric's at the 10. So, Eric in the last 3 weeks has gone from the 11 to the 10 spot. Was the winning really worth it? I'm not sure. We'll find out. With that in mind, let's do Eric at Cody first. I'm picking Cody.
I too am picking Cody. There's a Sengun flag. Oh, it's just illness. Yeah, I'm picking Cody. I really like some of his players. Eric is just not entirely healthy. OG Anunoby is out right now.
Yep.
Braun is out for Monday, which first round is like a month, but every game matters in the playoffs. So I'm picking Cody.
Absolutely. Now, and just so everybody understands this, the lowest pick that Cody can receive, no matter what happens, is a number 2 pick. The lowest pick that Eric can receive is a number 4 pick. So he finished 3rd. Theoretically, if like Steven gets the number 1 seed, then you would have Kyle and Cody that finish above him. He would get the number 4 pick. So that's kind of something to keep in mind as we go through this. Eric could wind up getting 1 pick less than where he finished. And everybody is kind of in that place as we move forward. So just something to keep in mind. Now we've got Steven at Kyle is the second matchup. Steven beats Kyle running away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident in that as well. I think Steven's going to take it.
Yep. So, like I said, Kyle could theoretically wind up with the 3. Steven could theoretically wind up with the 5. 4. Steven, the lowest Steven can finish, and that's kind of interesting from the 9 spot. He could wind up getting the 4th pick because there's only 4 teams in this bracket. So if the other 3 finish above him, if he should lose the first round, and it's single elimination. So if he loses the first round, he'll obviously finish in that 4 spot because there's no reason to have a loser's bracket in this situation because you're just going to wind up getting the reversed standings pick anyway. So with that in mind, we'll move right into the actual playoffs. Good luck to everybody in the consolation bracket. I will set that up tomorrow morning. So if you wake up tomorrow before I do and you see you don't have a matchup you bought them for, you will momentarily. I have to manually enter in that consolation bracket. So I will do that as soon as I get into work tomorrow. Nobody panic. You'll still have plenty of time. Your ads will still count. Everything will be fine. No one panic. With that being said, we'll move right into the playoffs. Now, as always, we'll start with the reigning, defending champion of the world. Mr. Modest is home, number 4 seed, taking on Matt, the away team, number 5. Now, Matt beat me in Cody's league this year for fantasy football. There is more than just fantasy basketball prowess at this point. Do I want to be the first team to beat Matt Hobert on the Fantrax platform? Absolutely in the playoffs. In the playoffs. Absolutely. But do I also want to get revenge for him beating me after Jonathan Taylor went down in the fantasy football playoffs? Absolutely. And you know what, Joel Gibson? I think I get it done. I might have Booker the second half of this matchup. I might not. But Matt has some injury concerns. Most of my talent actually took their rest this week. So I feel okay heading into the All-Star break. We'll see how it goes. But at the end of the day, Joel Gibson, just remember, I have the Joker, future 3-time MVP. I don't care what people say. He deserves it. MVP number 3, Joker. I'm picking myself.
So it's pretty interesting. Ingram was out today, but he did come back this past week. He's going to play quite a bit. Ingram, Christian Wood was set to be evaluated in a week ago. So if he is healthy this week, then really Matt is pretty healthy outside of Reggie Jackson, who is garbage, and Robinson, which, I think he can do without in a matchup against you. So that makes it pretty interesting. He's got some guys that can get pretty hot when you look at Donovan Mitchell and Jaw. I think Jaw had back-to-back triple-doubles this week.
Yeah.
Triple-double threat, that he could apply some pressure on you. But I am going to pick the reigning champ.
Woo! Also, I want to say one thing on Mitchell. They said he was going to be out for the road trip. I don't care what they're saying about this questionable bullshit. It's a soft tissue injury. I think he's going to miss more time than they're saying. I don't know why they rush him back. So that's just my only note on everything you said. Other than that, I totally agree with it. Ingram probably eats into Valanciunas a little bit as well. So the fact that he plays, it's an interesting little dynamic between those two if they can both eat. I don't really have anybody that kind of plays against each other as far as like getting stats and stuff like that. So that's just another little caveat. Another thing is, if I can win this matchup without Booker and Cade, I really, really like my chances the rest of the way. So Matt, I do believe, has a good chance to win this matchup. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the wire, and I just think I'm better on the wire than Matt. I've said it for years, year after year after year. I say I'm better than Matt on the wire. I've proven it. I'll prove it again.
Well, we'll see. It's really close, but I am going to pick you. I think you should make sure that you hold on to Joe Harris throughout the whole week. Leading force home.
Yeah, you better watch the fuck out. The only reason he's still on my roster is because he plays Monday. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But let me tell you, he is an MVP caliber player, and I am ready to rock with Joe Harris. Next matchup, we'll go back to the 1 versus 8. Neiman is home. Doug is away. Doug tried to tank. Doug the troll. Is it possible, Joel Gibson? Do you believe in miracles? Doug at Neiman, go.
I'm going to say no.
I set you up for a hell of a take right there, and you really just did not take it.
Yeah, no, I actually really like Doug's team for, like, the long term. When you look at some of the names like LaMelo Ball, SGA, Tyrese Mack, Scotty Barnes, Mikal Bridges, Jonathan Kuminga, and Jared Allen, and Robert Williams. Guys, those are really interesting young core guys, but they're all young core guys. He also, Robert Williams hasn't been super healthy this year. So I'm picking Neiman. He's overall pretty healthy. Damian Lillard has just been on a monster tear. And Embiid has been putting in some work himself. So
right.
I think he's going to round.
Yeah, I mean, it was just interesting to me that Cody's team, and what, like I said, put up a monster line this week. It was interesting to me that despite Dame being on fire and Embiid playing well, that Cody could compete, you know? And I'm not saying that Cody's team is bad. I'm just saying when you think of a 12-3 team, theoretically should have been 13-2 team. You don't think of them losing to the 12 seed, especially 12 seed of seasons past. Now, it's also important to understand that Neiman loves to collapse. He loves it his whole year stay in the league has been him collapsing despite him being a high seed. Every time we've seen it. So I'm a show me kind of guy. Joel Gibson, you and I have our name on this trophy a lot. And you want to know why we don't doubt each other in the playoffs? It's because we have our name on that trophy a lot. It doesn't matter what seed we are. It doesn't matter what we're doing, what players we're down. We have confidence in each other, and it's why we pick each other a lot. Neiman has not shown us. And if Doug wants to be that troll, if he wants to be that guy, he can run to the mat, and we're going to see how it goes over 2 weeks. You don't know who's going to sit. Embiid going into the All-Star break. Dame going into the All-Star break. Any of these players going into the All-Star break could sit. I'm not saying they will, and I'm not saying that Doug is going to win. All I'm saying is it would make me a little nervous if I was just randomly setting my matchups against the 12 seed and that team beat me somehow. That means there's a game plan. Doug should be studying Cody, and let me just say, even if Neiman wins, he's got to play the winner of Matt and I next round. Also, both of us champions. Also, another show me matchup. I'm not sold on Neiman's team yet. He deserves the number 1 seed. He probably deserves most valuable owner this year. But he's got to show me. I'm going to pick Neiman, but it's also a little bit because Doug always finds a way to win when I pick against him.
There is a world, right? There's a world where Doug just is like fucking Terminator and goes out there and is like, I'm going to drop 3 or 4 guys and just use those as cycle spots. And he just fucking goes and attacks Neiman. I mean, that would be the move, in my opinion. Some of these guys, I don't want to help them too much, but some of his guys I think are pretty droppable, especially at the price that they're listed at.
Right.
If I were him, like, you're the 8th seed, why not go for it?
Right.
So,
you have nothing to lose. You're not playing for a pick position here. He gets that 8 pick, no matter if he wins, loses, ties, doesn't matter. Oh, wait, there are no ties. Sorry, Adam. Neiman would win in a tie. But I think that it's going to be interesting. Doug is a smart owner. He's proved it time and time again. I think this is going to be a lot closer than our normal 8-1 matchups. That's it. I'm still picking Neiman. But good luck to both of you. I'm very interested to see how both of you approach this matchup. Next matchup, we have CJ at Adam. CJ's been banged up, and the biggest question for me here is going to be KD's health. Does he come back? Is there time? Does Steph sit going into the All-Star break? I don't know that the Warriors right now can afford to sit Steph. So it's going to be interesting to see if they still take maybe a game or 2 off here. Harden's been okay, but he hasn't been normal Harden. Maybe he just decides before the All-Star break to show out, or maybe his hammy shows up as it normally does around this time. It's definitely interesting to see how he's going to react. I'm going to take Adam. I'm very worried about KD's health.
Oh, man.
It's close. I was looking at it earlier. It is very close. Like I said, if there was even an inkling that I knew KD was definitely coming back, I think I'm leaning more towards CJ. But if he doesn't, Adam wins. They're both going to be on the wire. CJ is not afraid to spend money. It's going to be a very interesting matchup.
Man, I'm going to pick CJ.
Oh, first big upset.
I'm going to pick CJ. I don't feel great about it. I don't like picking against the Greek Freak. But James Harden, Steph Curry put a lot of fears to bed. And if CJ is aggressive and willing to drop some of the guys that he has not been willing to drop in the past, I think there's a chance for him to take it. He's been aggressive on the wire all year. He wants it. He put it out there early in the year that this is the year that he thinks is for him. Someone like a John Wall, there's not time to wait around, dude. Get him the fuck off your IR. Throw Rudy Gobert on there and fucking plug and play, dude. That's my advice.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Yeah, you're right, though, with the Greek thing and the knee going into the All-Star break. They don't need to play him. They really don't need to play him. So even if he wakes up tomorrow and he hits his knee on the dresser, they're going to sit him. So that's another one that will be interesting. The last matchup is going to be Joel at Phil. Now, I saved this one for last mainly because that's how it came in order. Also, I think this is the most intriguing matchup of all the matchups. And I'm not saying that to toot your horn. What I'm saying is Phil made a conscious decision today to play a player to lock down the 3 seed. He saw that I was winning against Adam. He saw that CJ was beating Steven. He knew that Doug was getting into the playoffs anyway. So he decided to play Triple J and lock down that 3 seed. Do you know what he did do? He locked down a matchup with Joel Gibson. And Joel Gibson's team, yes, very injury prone. Yes, we have a lot of question marks. But also, Phil has AD issues. Phil doesn't necessarily have a full team, if you will. He basically restarted his team at the beginning of this year. Man, I would be extremely nervous about this decision because thinking about both teams, thinking about the player playing these teams, I don't know that I want to play Joel Gibson first round, home or not, over playing Matt Hobert, home or not. It's a very interesting decision, and it could be one that costs him. I am going to hesitantly pick Joel only because I want that second round rematch from last year just to prove a point that I am better than Joel Gibson. Phil, you have been an unbelievable addition to this league. You're intelligent. You clearly know basketball. I've loved your activity level, everything like that. In the future, you're going to be great. I understand. And you may very well win this matchup. But for selfish reasons, I'm worried about AD. Joel's a little bit more balanced, and he's a little bit stronger in the guard department than you are, which is the only reason why I'm picking Joel Gibson. You're just without your strengths. If Joel is healthy, if Middleton picks up his minutes, if he avoids the Kawhi back-to-backs, if Halliburton somehow comes back before the All-Star break, it would be a problem for your team the way it's built. That's all I'll say.
Well, Phil, you fucked up, dude. Dude, you fucked up. You should have looked at the trophy and you should have seen whose name was on there several times and said, "Oh fuck, I want no part of this," because you're coming and you're gonna get fucking slaughtered, dude. I can't wait. Kawhi has been playing at like a top 10 pace. Man, if I get Tyrese Halliburton back, whew, you better look out. Cam Johnson the other day had like 6 threes. Dude, we are fucking ready. All year, I've just been waiting for the playoffs. I have not been playing the wire hardly at all this year, but now it's the playoffs. Fuck it all. Here we come. I got 3 fucking spots that I'm just willing to cycle, and I'll take you down, dog. Welcome to the playoffs. It's a different motherfucking animal. We're Chip, I don't care what fucking seed we are.
Excellent. So you're picking yourself.
Yeah, I'm taking me.
Okay, great. Just wanted to be sure. Joel Gibson, you will be pleased to know that while you were talking about whose name's on the trophy and everything, I know you can't see me there. I was holding up the trophy with all your names on it on my screen. So it hit a little bit harder than you thought it was going to hit. You're welcome for that. I do think it's going to be interesting. I am pumped for playoffs. It is going to be an absolute madhouse. Now, keep in mind that this is week 16, so it's January 30th through February 12th. It's not a full month, Joel Gibson. I think you said that earlier. It is only 13 days. 13-ish days. Yes. Then you get into the second round this year, which is the 13th through March 5th. So basically the All-Star Weekend is right in the middle of these two matchups is what happens. That's a little bit different from last year, only because we finished March 19th instead of into April. We decided to shorten it up last year about 10 days. So that's kind of what happened. I just wanted to clarify everything. I don't want anybody surprised or anything like that. Yeah, but with that being said, kind of a long video. I think we're approaching 38 minutes now. If you watch this whole video, I love you. I love each of you. Good luck to each of you in the playoffs. I love this time of year, and there's so many different things than normal played for the 1 seed. Just the strategy. Who do you drop to go to the wire? Young players that could theoretically be dropped. Do you drop them? Is it time for that? Is it your time to win, Joel Gibson? I don't know, and I want to know what everyone else is thinking. It's going to be awesome. Thank you guys for another great, incredible season. I know we had kind of a rocky start, but I think that we recovered. What a crazy close season, and I think that this finish is going to be one of the best yet. Joel Gibson, anything else from you?
Here we come. It's the fucking playoffs.
It's the fucking playoffs. Good luck, everybody. And we are going to do midweek recaps and stuff like that. I know Joel and I will be looking. We probably won't comment on our own matchups, obviously. But the other one is more than welcome to comment on the other's matchup. Just because we don't want to give strategy and stuff away. I know it's tough. But I do want to try to get some comments and feedback from you, Joel Gibson, on the matchups as they are when we get to there. It'll be tough and it'll be a little cryptic, but I think you and I can get it done.
We've been doing this for a long time. We'll be just fine.
Hell yeah. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.